This lesson is going to be focused on some parts of cloud services, particularly when it comes to managing users and computers on-prem and how they access some services that are online, like Microsoft 365 services. Now, what basic modern IT departments do is they have their way of managing users on premises using Microsoft Server 2019, and they create users groups and domains and all that, joining computers to domains and all that. But then, if you'd realize, most organizations normally have access to cloud-based applications like Office 365 applications, like Word, Excel, Outlook, and a whole lot more. Now, how do users who are within a local organization get access to some of those services online? They have to normally buy a license for all their users. But then Microsoft thought it wise that, do you know what? We can give you some level of access to our services. And then if you buy a volume level of license, we can allow you to have your current setup in your organization and then give it access to the online cloud services so that with whatever you have set up already, you can just use that to access our services based on the volume licenses that you've already bought. So how do you do that? You have to link your current setup, which is on-prem Server 2019 configurations, your Active Directory, to Microsoft Online Services. So how do you bridge that gap? That's when we have a hybrid environment setup that allows you to be able to push information, objects, users and computers, authentication, and so many wide range of services that you normally will have locally from on-prem all the way to online. So that's the essence of this section of the training course. And without much further ado, let's just talk about what this is about. So Microsoft Entra Connect is a tool that Microsoft will give you access to that you can install on your local server, like for instance, in our case, the Server 2019. And when that's set up and configured, that would mean that whatever users you have set up in your local Active Directory, those accounts can be allowed to talk to Microsoft Online. For instance, if you wanted to sign in into your Outlook, you can now sign in into your Outlook without necessarily creating a new account with Microsoft. You can rather use your local Active Directory account, hence hybrid. Now, this allows users to sign in using their on-premises credentials while accessing cloud resources. So that's a key thing to take note, and it's one of the things that you need to be familiar with if you're a system administrator. If you're a system administrator, you're likely to be in an environment that will have this kind of setup, and you need to have some experience with it, hence this lecture. The benefits of having this kind of hybrid environment is that users can now have the ability to sign in into different cloud services using the same email address and password. They don't necessarily have to be creating different email address and passwords for different various services. This is the concept called single sign-on, where the user experiences a unified sign-on experience across both on-premises and cloud services. The passwords are protected by a hash synchronization. So that means when you set a password in your local Active Directory, that password writes to the cloud services, and is that same password that is going to be synced across for authentication for cloud services. And users can also reset their own password if it's configured. And it allows you to be able to apply volume level of licenses to groups that you might have set up in your Active Directory. For example, maybe an organizational unit or a security group. And if those security groups and those groups are synced across from your local Active Directory to the on-premise to the cloud service of Microsoft, then you can apply some high level of licenses and give the users in those groups some access to certain softwares, certain cloud-based systems. One final thing to take note or to take away from this theoretical part, which we would be switching away in a few, is some of the administrative tasks. So it's not just about setting it up or knowing how to set it up. When you find yourself in an environment that obviously will have it set up already, what are some of the day-to-day activities that you'll be doing in relation to Microsoft Entra Connect? You would have to know, obviously, from this experience you're about to do, you know how it's configured, and you'd also know how to monitor what are some of the synchronization issues that you're likely to face and how to resolve them, how to troubleshoot those issues, and how to manage user life cycles. For instance, how do you create users in this new setup? Are you going to be creating users in your on-premise Active Directory and then hope that it would sync across? Or are you going to just create them in the cloud in hopes that it writes or keeps a copy on your local Active Directory? What kinds of attributes are you trying to link? Are you trying to map? So you remember when we opened a user's attribute editor, we have information like proxy aliases, when last did the user log on, when last the person changed the password, all those information we had in the attribute editor. You can single-handedly choose and select which ones of those informations do you want them syncing across to their online services. So those are some of the things that we just need to be wary of and know of when it comes to Microsoft Entra Connect. So the summary of this is you have a local setup that has its own users and groups, and it has access to local resources. Now you want this same setup to be able to access some cloud services, particularly like Microsoft, and extendedly, it can also be used to access other cloud services provided you have the necessary configurations set up. So I'll see you in the next video where we are going to learn how to install Azure AD Connect, now called Microsoft Entra Connect, on our server, and we'll probably create some accounts and see how those replicate to the cloud. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.